The positive is, Joey, Aaron Henry and this defense showed up. They made good adjustments. I thought they just had a better matchup too, with the way the quarterback isn't able to run. But we got to give them credit. They came out, played more that 5-1-5 defensive scheme, took linebacker off the field, had 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, really got after Drew Aller today. Good pressure from them. But also you had the defensive backs back there just a little bit faster. Matthew Bailey played really well when he got back in the game. So I thought that was a really good adjustment for them. And let's be honest, the players just played well, especially up front. Johnny Newton made millions the last 2 weeks. There were 14 NFL scouts here today. Johnny Newton was the star of the game. Despite his team losing, he was the star of the game. I'm interested to see how many pressures PFF gives him credit for, but he was consistently disrupting the backfield, got to tackle for loss, 2 quarterback hurries that the stats crew gave him credit for, and 2 pass breakups and a field goal block. Like, that's just absolutely wrecking the game. And I thought the outside linebackers played well. I thought this Alec Bryant played well again, but Seth Coleman and Gabe Akers had their best games as well. So kudos to those guys up front making plays.
Yeah, they slowed down the run. That was a huge question we had coming in to this game is how's Illinois going to be able to defend the run? Penn State can run the heck out of the ball. Penn State rushed for 164 yards. That didn't feel like that over the course of the game, and I'm sure a lot of that came when they went to their backup quarterback who primarily ran.
How many yards did they have through 3 quarters? I'm going to look that up here, Joey, while we talk about it, because that was impressive. What they did to those running backs and Andrew Aller, like – Penn State didn't look like a championship offense today against Illinois.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what we talked about when we were in Lawrence on the same podcast, that you're going to still get some more traditional quarterbacks. And you saw Illinois let its defensive front kind of turn loose a little bit of that. You're still going to get a lot of those more traditional quarterbacks coming up here in the next few weeks. So seeing that front play like what we thought it was going to play like that's something, if you're Illinois, if you're a fan, that you say, okay, that's good news moving forward with Johnny Newton. I mean, it's like Brett Bielema really mentioned it kind of for the first time. Like, that first Toledo game wasn't what we've seen out of Johnny Newton, and these last 2 games sure have been what we've seen. I thought the freak out about him after the Toledo game was a little much, and it turns out it was, because he's a really, really good football player.
Oh, the people saying he read too many of his press clippings? No, he's really good, and he's a leader. Brett Bielema shouted that out again today, that like he's really led the last couple of weeks. So through 3 quarters, Penn State 67 rush yards, 3 yards per attempt. That is the best running back duo you're going to face all year. And I think it's a sign that Penn State, their offensive line has to be a little bit better for them to be a championship caliber team. But I also think it shows that defensive front can be as good as we think it'll be. So we'll dive into the film a little bit with Jay Lehman about what happened with all this success. But Brett Bielema mentioned, it's kind of the same conversation he had with Ryan Walters after the Virginia and UTSA games. They had that conversation, said, we got to stop this. A lot of it was big plays. They barely gave up any big plays today. 3rd downs, they were much better. So Brett Bielema talked about that, and they certainly made adjustments. So for all the criticism we gave last week that was deserved, they deserve a lot of praise this week, because that was a defense that I can get behind. And if you play that way defensively during Big Ten play, with the Big Ten schedule you have, where Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa are probably the best opponents you're going to play. We'll see if Wisconsin actually is that. But I feel like that defense can give you many opportunities to win a lot of games.
Yes, Penn State was 7 of 18 on 3rd down. You'll take that. They were completing it at a near 50% clip coming into this. I also want to point out, you mentioned it early, we don't know the severity of Matthew Bailey's injury, but I thought he was a difference maker out there. Like, I've been kind of hesitant. It is a big deal, him coming back. But also, which is kind of where the defense was, you didn't want to maybe paint the picture of a defensive savior returning. But, dude, he looked good. He looked kind of like what you needed Matthew Bailey to look like. So we'll see if there's an update for that on Monday or what that looks like moving forward. He was not out there very long, but the plays he was, I thought he was impressive and showed you why they had been excited about him.
Really noticed his size and length, his reliability and run fits. And I'll give credit to Clayton Bush today. He's undersized a little bit compared to like Nick Singleton. I think Katron Allen, one of them ran over him the hole, but he came up, filled the hole, made the tackle. So I thought they were just way more sound defensively. So really kudos to them. I think that bodes really well, Joey, in the Big Ten West, where listen, how many quarterbacks are you facing that really scare you in this Big Ten West? I think Hudson Card is probably the best Big Ten West quarterback. Would we say he's the guy right now?
I think so. I know someone mentioned Cade McNamara in Iowa in a tight game with Western Michigan. I think just with his pedigree, you would think he should be in that conversation. But I mean, those would be the two that are front of mind for me, right?
Yeah, Cade McNamara is a game manager, and for Iowa, that might work. Hudson Card and Luke Altmaier to me are the most talented guys. Jeff Sims is talented, but we've seen his turnover issues through the first couple games. So it's kind of what you expect out of some newcomer, quarterbacks at this position.